Hello dear student, I am Dr. Pratik Barkar, Biology faculty. Today we will discuss about the morphology of flowering plant. So morphology of flowering plant is the chapter in the structural organization in plant and animal, that unit. In that morphology of flowering plant, total 4-mark questions will come in the NEET exam. So the weightage of this chapter for the NEET exam is 4 mark and 1 questions. Okay. So what is mean by morphology? So morphology is the Greek word in that the morpho and logos are the two different words are there. So that morpho means the forms, morphology in that the morpho means the forms, or we can say the structures, and logos means it is the science or study. So the morphology combinedly, it is the morphology is the branch of biology which deals with the study of the structure for different forms and relative position of the organs or organisms. So morphology is basically two type of morphology is there. So first we can say the external morphology. The second is the internal morphology. Okay, in the case of external morphology, what is meant by external? So outer side. Okay, in the case of outer morphology or external morphology, it is the study of external structure or size, shape, color and relative position of different organs or organisms. Okay, in the case of external structure, so we will observe the externally how it is, what is the shape, what is the size of that organ, or what is the color of that organ. From the outer side we will observe. But on the other hand, the internal morphology is there. So internal morphology studied the internal forms, means internally how it looks or internally how it is. Okay, in the case of internal morphology, it is also has the two types again. Okay, so one is the anatomy, second one is the histology. Okay, in the case of anatomy, this word is also came from the Greek language. The ana means again and tomy means to cut. So again it is cutting, means when we cut an organ again, so internally how that organs will look like. Okay, so definition of anatomy is the branch of biology that deals with the study of internal structure which is exposed after dissection or after cutting and opening of the various parts. Okay, when we dissect out, so it will open up, and after opening it will show the different parts of the structure. Okay, then on the other side, histology, the histology word is also from the Greek language. Okay, so in the case of histo word is the meaning, is will shows the meaning tissues, and the logos means the study simply. So in the case of histology, it is the study of the different tissues. So definition of histology is the histology is the study of tissues, their composition and the structure of the tissue, different tissues from which they are formed, which were observed in the microscope. Without microscope we cannot able to do the histological study. Okay, because the tissue is the group of cells and cells are the microscopic. So if you want to observe the different type of tissue, we need the structure, that we need the instrument, that is the microscope, and we can easily observe the structure in the tissue level in the microscope. Okay, now we will discuss about the plant morphology. So basically the plant morphology is depend on the what structure the plant is showing. So basically if you observe a plant which is arises from a seed, so when the development of the plant is happen at the starting phase, so the plant is developing from the seed. Okay, So seed consists of three parts. Okay, the outer covering that we call as a seed coat. Then inside the seed coat, cotyledon is there, as well as they have the main part, that is the embryo. In the embryo, so basically the embryo consists of two important parts from which the root and shoot will arise. Okay, so from which the different body part of the plants will arise. So the embryo consists of the radicle initial and the plumule initial. So we will discuss about the seed first. The seed will have seed coat, that is outer covering, then cotyledon and cotyledon structure and embryo. Okay, embryo consists of two parts. The first, radicle initial and plumule initial. Okay, so radicle initial, the R for radicle, or we can say R for radicle, which is developing into the root. So from the radicle initial, it will develop further and it will form the radicle. When the seed is germinate, when the seed will get favorable condition, radicle will develop. Okay, at the same time, the plumule, from the plumule initiate, it will develop. Okay, so that radicle will give the primary root, or we can say the root system completely. Okay, that root system is developed from the radicle, and the plumule will develop into shoot system. Now in the plant, when the plant is developed, so in the early phase, or we can say the very early phase, from the seed, plumule and radicle will arise when the seed is germinating, which will develop further into the root system and shoot system. Clear? Now we have to discuss in the plant what is the root system and what is the shoot system. Okay, so now in case of plant, the plant will have two systems. Plants will have two systems, that is the root system and the second one is shoot system. Okay, in the case of root system, it is having the structure which is going downwards in direction, means inside the soil, but in opposite to that, shoot system is developing to the upward direction. Okay, opposite to the gravitational force. In the case of root system, it is developing towards the inside or towards the gravitational force, and the shoot system is opposite to the gravitational force. In the case of root system, the root system is again divided into two type of roots. The first is the tap root, the second is the adventitious root, or we can say the lateral root. Okay, lateral root is also called as adventitious root. Okay, in the case of tap root are basically the root which are developed primarily from the radicle, and which is having the thick root. The root in the root system, the characteristic, one more important characteristic is the root system does not have the node and internode structure. Okay, so diagrammatically we will discuss in the soil, when from the seed, the radicle and plumules are developed like this. Okay, that radicle further develop and they will form into the root, that is the tap root. Okay, so that tap root is having the name primary root. Okay, so that primary root will have bigger size, bigger thickness, or we can say the thicker in size, and after that there will be the arising of the branches of that taproot. Okay, so that taproot will develop into the branches, and that branches of the primary root are called as the secondary root. Then the secondary root are further again divide, and they will develop into the branches or sub branches, we can say. So that sub branches are known as the tertiary root. Okay, so in the case of taproot are of three types. We can directly write the primary. It is the divided into three part. Okay, primary root, then the primary root are again divided into secondary root, and secondary root again divided into tertiary root. Okay, in the case of the on other side of the root, that is lateral root. So lateral root are basically the structure, they are showing in the separate branches, but they are developing on the lateral sides of the main root. Okay, the first, as we have discussed, from the seed, plumule and radicle will develop. So from that radicle, the primary stem will form, but it will not stay in the plant for the longer time. That primary stem is not staying for the longer time, and it will further form the lateral branches, many lateral branches. Okay, so that branches will, when the lateral branches will develop, so primary root will reduce their size. Okay, only the small primary root will be there, and so many numerous branches or fibrous branches are there, that are the advanced type of root system. So that's why it is also known as adventitious root. Okay, or it is also known as fibrous root also, because so many number of fibers are there. So they are the adventitious root, and they will shows the numerous small size branches. Okay, so by that way we can understand the root system.